because how could you quantifiably have any evidence? But it is something which happened, which definitely, it's highly probable that it created some sort of market volatility, which you can see. So it might have bottomed out. We had those big indications you can see. I was going to mention those two big bullish divergence indications on the daily. Actually, that's
Yeah,
the weekly, right? You're on now, or the daily? Yeah, daily.
this is the daily here.
Yeah, but that's pretty significant. And it
The
is about where the level, so you look at 20K where we bounced off it recently, okay? We went down to 20K and we just shot off it like a fucking rocket.
oh
That's
yeah,
pretty much
over.
exactly where we were getting those bullish divergence calls around there. So, yeah, maybe in another whole fucking universe, if the FTX crash didn't happen, we might not have got it. But, I said that at the when COVID, just before COVID, the market was rallying.
Oh,
And everyone said
exactly.
it was the bottom. Everyone was calling for the bottom, reverse head and shoulders, all the fucking bullshit. And then, something happens and everyone gets licked. It
Yeah.
usually happens like that because everyone thinks it's the bottom, and then, there might be something which is in the news which might just push the domino in that direction. And if that is the case and everybody thinks it's the bottom, then everyone's long and then see on the flippers. So
Oh, exactly. And yeah, I mean, obviously the news does play a factor. It's just that, like, as traders, we know that, watching the charts, we're gonna see what impact the
yeah,
news
exactly.
has on the
Yeah,
charts,
the
anyways.
news.
But like, and that's even going back to FTX. We did technically, like, your algos here definitely were giving us some warning shots there with those reversal warnings as resistance, right? With that trend confluence. I mean, the warnings were there before FTX
Look
even
at COVID as
happened.
well, man. Look at COVID as well. It's like this, like, the news has an effect on the price because people will go and buy and sell on the basis of news. People who are fucking noobs. But the thing is, it's like, how could you ever have any evidence to say that? Okay, let's just say there's a million people who watch the news story. Okay, 600,000 people buy and 400,000 people sell. Like, how the fuck are you ever going to know that? And also, it's not evident that your bias is always correct. So, like, you could have someone else who looks at a news story and it's positive. It's almost like ridiculous to even think like, oh yeah, you read something and like, yeah, now the price must go down. It's almost like you're a fucking dictator in your head. It's like, no, well, someone else might like that fucking news because there's a whole world trading this shit. Someone in China, who hears about, something happening in America, which is bad for America. FTX collapsing might be positive for someone in China or in
Well,
South
I
Korea.
know you were one of the only other people talking about when FTX happened, and after that initial panic, I know you and I were both saying, like, hey, maybe this is some twisted way going to be bullish for the market price because, everyone's taking their crypto off exchanges. People
Yeah.
at that point can't panic sell anymore, right? So, I mean, just that whole supply shock theory, I mean, it played out beautifully. I didn't see too
Yeah,
many
we're
people
getting it
talking
right
about
now.
that.
We're getting it now. Like the supply shock's still there, and they've got loads of. I saw a statistic from one of those on-chain guys. It was saying like I think it's crypto. Oh, I can't remember the exact statistic, but it's going through the fucking. I think it's crypto which hasn't moved for more than a certain amount of years, and it's just absolutely exploding right now. Like it's people just aren't moving crypto because they don't want to go to exchanges because exchanges are dodgy as fuck. They might collapse. So
Yeah.
people are kind of just stuck in ledgers. They're stuck in their hot wallets, and like you can't really sell Bitcoin peer to peer without it being like even fucking you know only Bitcoins, whatever it's called, it's gone down now. Local Bitcoins. So there is no like MetaMask for Bitcoin. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you quickly jump on like ETH and trade it on a Uniswap. Like does that? It's not a thing. You can wrap it, but who the fuck does that? So like
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
even know how all that shit works.
yeah, there needs to be a better solution than that, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll let you get on with your. I could interject a few times, like, but whatever you're going to talk about the indicators, man. I think there's a few people in here wanna. Let's have a look who we got in here. Some new faces, maybe.
Yeah, I think we
People who
do
want.
have a few new faces here. So, yeah, I guess to start off, you guys, I try to do these once or twice a week, taking a look at what the indicators are saying, giving my own kind of market update, like we're just talking, shooting the shit about crypto in general. If you have
Maybe
any
maybe record this
question,
as well. Stu. Maybe record this as well. Yeah, that'd be great.
yeah, I got it recording. So that's another thing, guys. If you do want to talk, but you're not comfortable being online, whatever, just feel free. Let me know that you want it edited out, anything like that. That's totally fine. Feel free to hop on the mic at any time. Ask me questions about the indicators, crypto in general. do my best to answer them. Any questions about the features or settings of the indicators, obviously feel free to chime in here. And if you don't have a microphone or just don't feel like talking, there is the chat box as well in the indicator tutorials page there in the Discord. So yeah, other than that, welcome everybody. As you can tell, we're just kind of here to talk crypto and whatnot. A couple things, just because there is a few new people here. Two things that I love to mention right off the hop here is if your candles look weird or you're having any visual issues at all, just make sure you either right click on a symbol or just go to the three dots here and make sure your visual order is set to bring to front. And as well, if you right click over on your prices here, click the scale price chart only. Those are two things that I want to make sure that everybody does. Anybody tuning in late, just make sure you have that as well. But yeah, everyone obviously has their own way of trading. Everyone has their own trading styles. These indicators quickly became my favorite indicators. Really, all I used before this was the RSI. I don't even use a lot of the key features on with these algos, to be honest. I just have I like to find my own entries and that kind of thing, but I will walk through a few things that you can do that I typically don't use, but I do check for confluences once in a while. But I'll bring up my settings for what I have right now. So I'm on the daily chart here. This is not my regular DEGEN settings here for when I'm scalping, but yeah, so basically I have my colors inverted just because I love to see the bright flashing green to line up with the indicators while they're doing that sort of thing. It's just nice when you see the oscillator 4, oscillator 5, and ALGO 3 all lining up in agreement. That's just some of my favorite trade setups to take, so I love when they're all flashing green at me. Auto settings, that will make our second trend line here. So the smoother line will be our first trend, and that is the 21 EMA on the current chart. And the second one here, this one that's a little more choppy, would be the one that is currently selected with auto settings. So I believe that's actually the 3-day trend confluence when I'm on the daily chart. Either way, it's a longer trend confluence, and the auto settings just picks that for you. Next, what you can do, so this is when I add signals, this is where you actually see some long and short calls come into play on your chart. And from there, you can also, well, when you have the trend confluence on from the second one, this is where you actually get these strong signals. So if you have a strong short or a strong long, that basically means that both your trend confluences line up and agree with each other. From there, you can also check this filter, totally personal preference, but that'll basically get rid of a bunch of the chop and only show you the trades that are agreeing with the trend that the algo is assuming the trend is heading, or the direction that it's heading. So that can just help clean up some of the chop. Like I said, I personally don't use a lot of these settings, even though I think they're absolutely excellent. Just personal preference, I like to have my own entries kind of. But then we also have this trade setup feature, and this is very cool just for you newer people here. I'm sure a lot of you are well aware of this. But this will actually help you pick an actual entry, your stop loss, your take profits. It looks like this one might have actually just got stopped out. That's unfortunate. But honestly, one thing that I love about this feature is more so than even taking the entries and the stop losses. I generally have my stop loss a little looser when I am using this feature. But I love the fact that it points out these take profits. Even if I'm not using it for the entry, for example, I still love to see these take profits, because when you get into a winning trade, I say this in every video, it's easy to feel like the smartest person alive. You want to double down, triple down on your position, when in reality you should probably be taking profits. So this indicator just really helps scream that right in your face so that you can pay attention to that, basically. My favorite thing about these indicators is the trend confluences. Having the two trends on the chart, even though I can be on a different time frame. So just with that, I'm going to hop right over to my 1 minute, I guess this would be the hour. I'm going to hop over to my 1 minute chart, because as you guys know in the private Discord here, love being a little bit of a degen. So I like to look at the 1 minute chart, but what I'm still able to do, and this is why I love this indicator so much, is I can add these trends. So now I actually have this 5 minute trend EMA, or sorry, that would be the volume weighted moving average. And on top of that, I also have the hourly trend confluence. So I can get a general idea of the trend on longer time frames while looking for those pinpoint accurate entries on the smaller DEGEN time frames. So that's what I really like about these indicators, just being able to really zoom in while still keeping a general view of the larger time frames in the market. So that's just absolutely my favorite part of this. As well, another thing, these supply and demand zones. Love those as well. These basically map out, I mean, I basically call them support and resistance boxes. The green would be demand, red would be supply. So it basically maps out these resistance and support zones. And when you're on these smaller time frames, I mean, the chart changes so fast that if you're actually trying to map out boxes the way I typically would, I mean, it can be quite time consuming. So if you're especially like me, I like to play video games while I'm looking at charts and watching YouTube kind of all at the same time. It's really nice that this can help keep my chart up to date, even on the DEGEN timeframes, just because it'll automatically kind of keep me up to date with some potential resistance and support zones. So as it stands right now, I kind of like what I see here, actually. That this is one of those times. I'm actually going to change things up a little bit here. Just to clean things up, I am going to get rid of those boxes. This is kind of how I'm going to come back and look at this 1 minute chart in a little bit here. But yeah, we're going to go back to just some longer time frames. We're going to work our way in. So one thing that I've been pointing out the last couple videos here, and why I'm cautiously bullish right now on the chart while so many people are desperately trying to short a retrace, because these charts can look very overextended, but when you're zoomed out and on a weekly time frame, I mean, this kind of price action on any other time frame wouldn't be all too uncommon. Just on the weekly, it feels like it's super overextended. I've had this trend line mapped out for quite some time. This support goes all the way back over 10 years. So something I don't want to take too lightly. And I was even warning you guys about this as a potential support to resistance flip down here, which that's actually where our FTX dump happened. Interesting coincidence there. And as well, we did start to respect it a little bit very recently here. But something I'm seeing now is that it looks like that may have been a fake out, and that we may actually be respecting that line as support again. I mean, I've seen this drawn a couple different ways, and there is the chance that this is actually going to be quite bearish. I just want to get rid of this line and map out another potential one here, just because as traders, it's important to see basically bearish and bullish scenarios and not get married to an idea. So let's just say that we go from this line back here, looking for those 3 perfect touch points, basically. Here would be our third touch point, and then look where we're trading right now. So that's something to be a little bit cautious of right now, that we may just be getting a very bearish retest of this old support, new resistance line here. So something to be a little bit cautious of there. But honestly, the way I'm looking at the charts, I feel like there's a lot of bullish cases to be made for the bulls, for the bulls. And I know I point this out in pretty much every video too, and I really think that the structure of this chart has completely changed, because when we had our downtrend here, we had our bear market, we set a low here, we set a lower low here, so this would have been our lower high on a macro time frame here, because this is a weekly chart, and we ended up just getting a beautiful breakout from that level. On top of that, we also broke this diagonal resistance line, flipped it into support beautifully. Another thing I can bring up with the MDX ALGO 3, with this nice breakout, we also got a long signal on the weekly chart, and that's something I don't want to take too lightly. If we look back, whenever Bitcoin has broke out of this serious downtrend of a bear market in the past and then got a long signal, it's basically confirming that the bottom was in. I'm not saying that we couldn't pull back at these levels. I mean, obviously back here when it happened, we pulled right back, basically formed a double bottom. So, you know, we could get another black swan event, just like what happened with COVID here. I mean, maybe we do end up pulling back and retesting these levels, but at this point, the way I'm seeing it, I just see so many cases for the bulls that I really do think the bottom is in for this market cycle. I don't really think anymore that we're gonna end up hitting those $14,000 or $10,000 price targets. Obviously, anything can happen. If we totally change the structure of this chart once again, let's say right now, I would really like to see this level hold as support. Basically, if we pull back down, just that we ended up breaking this high here, I would love to see us hold this support, basically form a double bottom for a nice just a higher low basically, and carry on to the upside from there. But yeah, as it stands right now, I really don't think Bitcoin's in too bad of a position. And just basically before getting into the bulk of this, we were talking about, you know, if we do break out past 30K, obviously we have some resistance up ahead. And the indicators are warning us that, you know, there is potential that we are running into a bit of a reversal zone. We are trading at a very significant level of resistance at this point. I'll actually flip this red. But yeah, basically we're seeing potential resistance right at an old support level and a very serious support level. So that's something I don't want to take too lightly. But if we do happen to break past this 30K and above this 32K high back here, I really do think that we could be on our way towards 48,000. And I've been talking about that level for, well, I think ever since we were trading back in these levels, honestly, that I thought that if we do end up getting some sort of a serious bear market rally, even if this isn't the new bull market, I really think that it is quite likely we end up targeting those levels at some point, just because there's a lot of confluence there as well. It's obviously a very significant level in the structure of the chart. This is our last year's candle high, is right at that level as well. Another thing, if I pull up the Fibonacci's looking for resistance, so I'm pulling from top to bottom of this swing here, the 618 lines up with that level very well as well. There's just a lot of things going for that level, and I just can't help but I just have this gut feeling that we are eventually working our way to that level. I don't think it has to be tomorrow or next week or anything like that. I'm kind of leaning more towards June, July we end up seeing those levels. And then I really want to pay attention to the news at those levels, which is something I don't normally do. You guys know I hate following the news. I just like drawing colorful lines and playing the trades off of them, basically. But I will be interested in this level because I think people are going to be very quick to FOMO in when they see 50K is right around the corner, and people are going to want to get in before Bitcoin has its next blue sky breakout. But I think this is that bull trap that everyone's waiting for. Everyone's thinking that it was going to be down at these levels or even this level. I just have a feeling that it's going to be a little higher than what everyone's expecting, and that's the perfect level for just to see some sort of a harsh rejection. Something happens in the economy, blasts us right back down. And that's where I'd like to see this level that we're all targeting as resistance right now. I would love to see that level flip into support if we do get that pullback. I think the markets would be in a very healthy position at that point. And if we are able to hold that as support, I think that's where Bitcoin is going to start basically its next crazy run. Basically when it actually ends up closing weekly candles above this level that I'm targeting, that 618 rejection, once we close candles above that level, I think Bitcoin is going to go parabolic after that, because it's happened so many times in the past. Actually, I know this is going to be repetitive for a lot of you, but since there is some new faces, I just want to point out what I mean by that. Back here, I remember everyone was getting everyone had a lot of FOMO at this level. And again, just testing that 618 rejection. After we got a weekly close above that level, though, it was boom, just straight parabola. The market cycle we had before that, basically the same thing. You can see that we had this very harsh rejection here. Doesn't look like much, but this was over a 40% correction to the downside. And as soon as we ended up closing weekly candles above that level, flipped it into support, and boom, just went absolutely parabolic again. So that's the level in the market that I'm very interested in watching. But that's obviously a weekly chart. So many things can happen between now and then. I just really want to keep that on my radar, and I keep mentioning it because it's important to plan ahead. And I want to make sure I don't end up being one of those suckers that gets extreme FOMO at these levels. So the more I talk about it, the less likely it is to happen. So I'm going to keep mentioning it. But yeah, as it looks right now, let's hop into some DEGEN settings here. I will also catch up on the chat here. What does that number 21 mean? Would that be, you mean in my settings, I assume? The number for my trends, for example. That would just be using 21 candles basically to determine where this trend is going to be, basically, the average of the previous 21 candles. I don't know if 21 is a significant number or not. I believe it's something to do with the Fibonacci's as well. But yeah, that's basically how it came out of the box. So that's what I've always used it as this, and these are just some of the settings that I like to use. So does anybody else have any questions about the indicators at all? I'm basically just going to leave it up on these smaller time frames. I'll kind of talk about what I'm seeing, but yeah, I just figure that looking at it on a smaller time frame like this is nice to see. Oh, I got stopped out of the rest of my short. Yeah, it's just nice to see in real time when these update so quickly on such short time frames like this. So yeah, obviously playing the 1 minute is not for everybody. I want to be very clear about this. Trading the 1 minute can definitely lead to over trading, revenge trading, over leveraging, all those real bad habits that we don't want to have as traders. So just be a little bit cautious with that. I'm basically using this for demonstrational purposes here, just so we can take a look at a live chart here. But yeah, basically, some of my favorite things to look for with these indicators are entries along these trend moving averages, basically. I love to see reasons to enter them around those levels, just because if we start getting too far away from any of these trends, the trend 1 or the trend 2, basically at that point I would just expect that, hey, at some point, even if the ALGO 3 is giving you long signals but you're way above those moving averages, for example, I would just be a little more cautious in taking those setups, just because, again, it could be overextended. So I really like to get those entries that are very close to these trends. And another thing, I was talking to someone else in the group about this earlier, but something that I love about the strategy of getting into positions around these is that even if it backfires on you and you end up taking a position that isn't going to work out, quite often you can actually get out at break even, or even if you want to reduce your risk, you want to completely eliminate your risk, or something that happened with me today is I actually took profit on one that wasn't going to work out. But basically I was looking at this hourly trend down here. We had a few bottoming signals. The oscillator 4 up here had this bullish pivot. We were finding from a short, it was saying to take profits right around as we're basically finding support along this hourly trend. So we wicked below, but the bodies are closing above it. That's what I love to see. Basically some kind of a failed break. Also, the oscillator 5 down here had this big green dot down here. One thing we were missing is this money flow cloud that a lot of us in the group have been talking about recently. That would be this red and green cloud in the middle of this oscillator. Basically showing which way the volume is, whether it's selling volume for the most part or buying volume. The only thing we were missing right here basically was a green cloud. So, I mean, it wasn't absolutely perfect, but we did have those 3 indicators lining up quite nicely. And I did end up taking a bit of a position there. I took a long position. And, you know, we did break down a little bit, but by the time this actually flipped to red and we end up getting this bearish cross here, the price was actually finding some decent support here and actually bounced a little bit. And I was able to get back above my entry with a warning on the indicator and everything, and taking profits, very small profits, I'll give it that, but basically pay off the fees and then a couple bucks. Oh, nice. Getting some nice little price action here. But yeah, that's just one of those cases that with this strategy of entering near these moving averages here, even though it went against me, I was still able to book a very small profit and not take a losing position there. So I just really like using those trends when finding a position, basically. Right now, obviously, Captain Hindsight's a bit of a jerk, so I'm regretting not taking this position when we flipped this moving average into support. Got a little bit of a triple bottom along it. You can see that we also got this little, actually a couple signals here. Got this beautiful bullish divergence here as we reclaimed this support. And as well here, it was claiming for a potential reversal point, so a potential bottom here with that little blue triangle. Basically this whole level here, obviously it's just a 1 minute, keep that in mind, but even the reversal warning there earlier, just a very nice level with a lot of confluence there, so that was fairly nice. So basically, as far as looking for a short position, we're getting closer to those levels that I'm interested in making those positions. We have starting to look a little bit overextended on the oscillator 4. We're getting near the trend confluence here. That would be the hourly trend. Oscillator 5 is starting to look a little bit overextended. Haven't got that big red dot yet. And the money flow is green. That makes me a little bit hesitant to take a short right now. I would like to see some kind of a fake out, honestly. Say we break above, once again getting wicks above, but the candle body's closing below. But this is a perfect example of where I would start to be looking for a position, basically, if I was looking for a short, just because we are so close to this.
Take the DEGEN short, brother. Take the DEGEN
get
short.
one in there?
On stream, man. Let's go.
Let's get one. Okay. Feel like I should have taken it about a minute ago if I was going to. Maybe I'll ladder one in. I'll ladder a small one in.
I was just thinking that, mate. Yeah, probably about a minute too late.
Oh. And stop loss. This is a DEGEN play, so I'm going to set my stop just above here, basically. 333. No 100x on this one, that's for sure. Yeah, we got the take profits from if you were in that since it's above. Obviously, if you were in a long position, it would be saying, now is a good time to start taking a little bit of profits. Yeah, the two things that I don't like about this short right here would be this green cloud of money flow and the fact that this bearish pivot never played out on the oscillator 4, that it kind of looks like the bands are getting a bit of a breakout, so this might go against me. But what was my average entry? 28,135 so far. Starting off with a very small one. Yeah, that's see, like, typically I would like to see this turn into a bit of a failed break, and then we also have a better visualization for a stop loss. So far, that 5-hour trend line's just kicking the shit out of the 1-hour trend line. How's everyone else feeling about the markets? Anyone in any positions? Anyone else being a DEGEN? On the ALGO 4, what do the diamonds mean? So up here, those diamonds, those would be potential pivots. Basically, a bearish pivot up there for those yellow diamonds. I want to see us lose this hourly trend confluence here. I'd want to see us lose that right now, so it looks like a bit of a failed break. It hasn't flipped green yet, so it's still potentially bearish, but ideally looking for a short off something like this. You would want to see a bit of a failed break, and then with a W, for example. Like earlier, I think most of you probably saw I was sharing that I did actually take a short earlier as well. It was basically off this W here, because we had this bearish cross of the 5-minute and the 1-hour trend. And then as we came back up, we got that reversal warning right along the 5-minute trend while it's still below the 1-hour trend. So I did scalp that short there. Here we don't have the W. It does look like it's struggling to hold, but no reversal warning, but whatever. Like I said, I took this very small DEGEN scalp short. See what happens. Oh, let me catch up here. Sorry guys, if I ever forget to answer you in the chat, I'm just bad at paying attention to it. And as well, if you're trying to talk on the mic and I'm not answering, or it seems like we're ignoring you, you might just be muted. Sometimes we get background noise and echoes and stuff, so I just end up muting people sometimes. So just let me know if that is an issue. What trend confluences do I have up now? So a little bit different today. I'm just testing a few different things lately. I've been liking that volume weighted moving averages for the smaller scalps. So that's on 5-minute. And just previously, before switching over to that, I used to always look at the 1-hour trend confluence with the EMA. So that would be my second one up here. So they're a little bit different than most people would have them. That's just something I'm testing right now, basically, for the DEGEN scalps. But I've had a lot of luck in the past playing the 1-hour EMA trend confluence, and yeah, I figured I'd bring it in. Even when I'm looking at the 1-minute chart, I kind of want that one up. So ideally, I would love to have 3 trends. I'm going to, I think we've mentioned it to Max before. I'll mention it again at some point, but yeah, I would love to have a third trend. Sorry, that way I could have the 1-minute, the 5-minute, and the 1-hour. I think would be good. Take a look at Doge with the indicators. I can do that. Actually, one that I wanted to talk about, I know I was showing this in the micro gems in the old Discord there. I've been talking about this one for, I think, months at this point. Polyelastic, I think. Yeah, Polyelastic. This thing had like a $600,000 market cap when we were back at these levels back here when I was talking about it on my channel. But the trading volume was significantly more than the total market cap. So this is one that I was talking about. It has recently done very nicely. 300% pump to the upside at current price. It was actually higher just like an hour ago or so. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful chart there. This thing still only has, what is it, a $2 million market cap after that pump. And once again, the 24-hour trading volume is over 4 million, so it's over double the total market cap. That's a good sign in my opinion. I'm not saying to FOMO into this thing because it has blown up 300%, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. If anybody else did happen to get in that, I know there was a few people in the group talking about it. Doge. Oh, Doge going for a rip today. Let's See if I can find any random analysis here. I guess after we broke that trend line, went good. Let's check it on some smaller time frames though, because realistically, probably not setting trades based on the daily. Holy, that 4-hour candle just exploded. Once again, guys, those W's along the trend confluence, they can be so powerful. Like, that was an absolutely beautiful call from down there. Let's get to shorter time frames. It's going to be hard to analyze this one, honestly, just because it has pumped so much so quickly. It's going to be hard to find any kind of a position in the short term here. Unless, well, let's just get right into the dirty 1 minute here. Actually, let's go back to my DEGEN chart though, just so I have the settings that I want. So yeah, this is one of those times. How far away are we here? Yeah, that's almost 5% away, even from the 5-minute moving average there. So this is one of those times I'm more of a fan of waiting till we get closer to these levels to enter a position. With how fast this pump to the upside like this, I mean, you got to be a little bit careful because if we do drop this trend confluence and drop down to this one, I mean, that's actually quite a steep drop, most likely pretty quickly. Let's just see. Let's bring up some signals, see what they're saying. Beautiful long signal down there. Wow. We do have a short signal here. We do have the market, what is this? The market flow. I don't know if you can see this very faint gray line here, but that quite often acts as resistance and support as well. So to see that above after we got this little short call, I mean, maybe we do end up seeing a pullback, but honestly, when things have so much momentum like this, I'm a little hesitant to bet against them. I know Doge is infamous for, pumping and dumping, but yeah, I just don't like to work against that momentum, but kind of scary to FOMO in at this point. I'd really like to see some sort of a signal come up on top of one of these other moving averages, basically. See if we can find any... that even might be a little bit of a break. Yeah, it's hard to say. Let's zoom out a little bit. Map out some random resistance. So yeah, I mean, at this point, looks like it's getting a failed break of that resistance, but anything can happen, obviously. I don't necessarily consider it a failed break if it just fails on its first attempt like that. Ideally, I like to see the candle bodies closing very close to that level and then seeing another red one close kind of against that level rather than just one failed test like that. I don't really give that too much weight yet. Yeah, that's a hard one to analyze right now just because it had that massive pump there. Yeah, a couple nice long signals there actually on the 1 minute for Bitcoin. Could have taken profits along the trend confluence there. It was even warning us to actually, but yeah, I don't know how this short's gonna play out. Like I said, never really had that W. just see what the... Let's bring up the trade setup as well. See what it's telling us. So yeah, that long signal hit all 3 take profits. Beautiful. Yeah, how's everyone feeling on the markets? You guys generally bearish, bullish right now? What's everyone feeling? Midterm, long term, short term, all of it. Price is definitely having a hard time with that hourly trend confluence. Might even add to my short a little bit. Yeah, I know, you're not used to seeing me short. I did already play this short from this W down to these levels down here. Closed half of it, other half got stopped out, but MDX is a bad influence on me and convinced me to enter a DEGEN short when we were testing the hourly trend confluence, so here we are. Got in about a minute late there, but good enough. Let's see what happens. It's a small one. It's just a reason to show you guys how I use these indicators. Like I said, I love entering positions when I'm near that trend confluence. It's not going to work out every time. That's totally fine. But it's this way I can kind of show you guys live how I kind of babysit a trade a little bit. It totally depends. I don't always wait for a W. That's one of my favorite things. Just to have that reversal warning right along a confluence like that, an EMA or a volume weighted moving average, any kind of moving average there. It's just great to have that confluence. And those W's have been very powerful quite often. They don't play out every time, but I mean, even this one down here, that was absolutely perfect. That's without other confluence going with it. So I just take those W's quite seriously. If I'm in a position and they come against me, quite often I'll think about taking some profits or bailing on a position, depending how it looks. But there's other things I look for, not just necessarily the W's. Sometimes I'm checking Fibonacci levels, just trend lines, resist support flips, divergences. Like, let's check out what the indicators are doing. See, that was kind of another reason why I was saying I don't know if I'm confident in this short and keeping it small, is because we did have that green money flow still. I do like that we got this big red dot now. We got a... Yeah, let's take a step back and just see what we're all seeing here right now. Oscillator 4 has cooled down a lot, but we did have that bearish pivot, overextended, regular bearish divergence, all of that on the Oscillator 4 up here. ALGO 3 here, we have these take profit warnings right as we're kind of struggling with that hourly trend confluence. The Oscillator 5 down here, we have this big red dot that I was looking for earlier. So that's all kind of lining up together. The only thing we're really missing, once again, is that that money flow. I wish that it was red right now, but yeah, we'll just see what happens. Oops. Oh, I did change that a little bit. When I added a little bit, 147.50. Is my new average entry. Oh, I do like that we got this little top signal as we were getting close to the trend confluence there. Oh yeah, that's all good. I was saying that my trend confluences are a little different than how most people have them currently. I'm just testing a few things, but I currently I'm on the 1 minute chart. My trend 1 is the volume weighted moving average, 5 minute, and my trend 2 is the EMA, and it's the 1 hour. So a little different. There's really no magical number. I want to make that clear. It's more about how your back-tested methods basically are acted, or how they're reacted with, rather. There's no magical numbers that you're going to set these to, and it's going to work out every time. Obviously, you're just looking for things to match up with your confluence so that you can weigh out your odds, basically. And that goes with the signals as well, like the short and long signals. Obviously, they're not always going to work out. Sometimes you'll get a long signal right into resistance where you got to be a little careful, or you're getting a short right into support. It's important to still backtest, find out what trade setups catch your eye, because everyone catches different things in the charts. And yeah, just obviously everything is to be used as confluence. You're just weighing out your odds. There's no perfect setup that's out there, basically. I am just going to clean things up a little bit. I am going to get rid of the signals and the trade setups, just because, like I said, normally I actually don't have those up. It's not really getting rejected as hard as I would like. Really not getting rejected as hard as I'd like. What we might have here, we actually have the RSI aiming up to be the type of bearish divergence I like to see, where we go from kind of way overbought down to basically testing the healthy rejection level, I would say. So if we can get some kind of a double bought or double top at this level, that would make a lot of sense. Have to see what it does here. But before I had these indicators, that was honestly one of my favorite trade setups to use as well. Was just bearish divergences on double tops, bullish divergences on double bottoms. That's, yeah, basically the RSI was all I used to use, and that's kind of how I used it. I don't like that we're getting back above this hourly trend confluence, but I do like that bearish divergence. That being said, I've never actually done extensive back testing on that on the 1 minute. When I was doing a ton of back testing back in the day, I back tested, I think it was like 2 years worth of those double tops, double bottoms on 4 hour and daily chart patterns. Not so much on the 1 minute, but we'll see how it goes. Generally speaking, charts act the same on any time frame. You just, obviously, if you're playing a degenerate time frame, you should be taking profits based on a degenerate time frame. You're not entering a position on a 1 minute chart and looking for a daily size move. I would like to see that bearish divergence hold. What letter is behind there? That's a W right at my... Obviously, this candle hasn't closed yet, so a lot can happen still, especially on a 1 minute candle. But yeah, it's nice to see a potential reversal warning right at that double top with my bearish divergence on the RSI. Nice to see that confluence. I just really want us to get back below this hourly trend confluence. That would just give me a lot more faith. I don't like that bodies are closing above it, but money flow has flipped red. We'll just watch this for a little bit longer. Basically, I want to see if this trade's going to play out or not. And we're getting close to an hour. I'll probably stop the stream. Well, yeah, after we kind of get some sort of a definitive move out of this, I'll end up stopping because it takes a long time to upload these videos once I get streaming over an hour. And just so you guys know, for all you new people, I do also share these on my YouTube channel. Be sure to check it out, subscribe. I always post these live streams after in case anyone can't make it or anything exciting happens, anything like that. I also do share some analysis on Twitter. If I don't have time to make videos and stuff like that, I throw it up here quite often. Oh, there we go. There we go, losing that trend. Do I usually use a pretty wide stop? I guess that depends on your tolerance. Right now, mine is basically just above this little bit of resistance back here. Just because since we dropped this support down here, I'm kind of looking at this as being resistance since we got up this high. Because I still don't want to set my stop loss just right on the other side of the trend confluence in case we do test some higher structure. So even if we're looking at this level is kind of like looking like where we're getting rejected there. I like to keep mine a little bit further. Actually, stop is right about there. But this is a very small position too, because like I said, I was kind of jumping the gun by entering down here. So that's the thing. The closer I can get my entry to the stop loss, the more comfortable I am going a little heavier on my position, a little higher leverage and stuff like that. But yeah, you got to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. Realistically, my stop should probably be somewhere above this structure, but just since I'm looking at this as more of a DEGEN scalp, tightened it up a little bit. Yeah, we're just unable to hold that resistance. If I can get some kind of a dip down, I might even remove some of my short. This is going to be the one day where I let go of my Moon Boy bias and we're going to get some sort of a crazy pump. I'll just crush an energy drink here so I can DEGEN revenge trade all night. Well, it's a battle between that trend confluence and my 1 minute double top resistance box. So I know I've mentioned in the Discord before that I look for a very specific setup when it comes to bearish and bullish divergences. And like with the RSI, here's just a perfect example is it's not necessarily just any sort of divergence. The one that I really like is where we go from overextended and then kind of retap that like perfect healthy top area. That's just a very specific double top formation that I like to find. might not work out. But quite often, specifically on larger time frames, I do notice it plays out quite well. I think when I back tested it on a 4-hour and daily time frame, like I said, I back tested about 2 years of it, and I think I ended up having like a 86% success rate for that kind of a setup when I was testing it. That was a couple years ago. I haven't done that in a long time. I should probably see how it's been doing the last couple of years, to be honest. But just one of my old school favorite chart setups. Yeah, seeing the oscillator 5 getting some bearish divergences. A couple little dots there, not the big ones, but money flow flipped red. I can't help but feel like the fact, even though these are just 1 minute candles, the fact that we've been closing candles above that 1 hour trend so much makes me think that might be a bit of a bullish warning sign. But as it stands, it's still struggling there. So with these divergences and stuff, we're going to stick to our plan here for a bit. On the ALGO 5, how come sometimes there's a line with the divergences and sometimes there's not? I think just different types of divergences. There's just a few different ways of pointing them out. Like sometimes it's this signal here, sometimes it's that connecting line, sometimes it's the R's or the H's. There's just different types. To be honest, I'm not sure what exactly specifies this. That actually looks like it's pointing out an RSI divergence. I could be wrong on that, but it looks exactly like my RSI divergence. I could be wrong on that, but that's how it looks to me. What time is Kieran going live, actually? I'm going to have to make sure that you guys have time in between. Get anything done if you need. Don't want to cut into his time. On the ALGO 4 is that little cloud showing the thing is outside the band.
Kieran's in just under 2 hours, mate.
Oh, 2 hours? Okay, so we got some time yet.
Loads of time.
I'm probably going to wrap up fairly soon anyways, but good to know. This on the oscillator 4, I know the oscillator 5 has those as well. Let's find out what those are exactly. Is that the deviations? Just give it a second to load here. No, doesn't seem like it. So that is the deviations here. That would be the little clouds that show up above and below. Just a bit of a warning. Oh, we're back in profits. Might have to pull a Sato and start praying, doing my Hail Marys here. Should probably 100x cross leverage this one. Yeah, see, I really should have waited with this position to enter after, you know, getting this double top with the W, for example. Then I would have just had a little bit better of an entry, but like I said, this is just a small, just for shits anyways. Basically just showing you guys how I like to use these indicators, what I look for when I'm DEGEN scalping. Add more. I don't want to add more. I feel like I'm lucky that we even came back down here, giving me a second chance. So if anything, I'm thinking about closing half my position here. I think I'll leave it for now, but I think I am going to bump up my stop though. I don't want to take quite as big of a loss. Basically, if we take another run at this, smashing through this this hourly trend confluence and my double top bearish divergence here, I want to be stopped out. So I think I'm gonna just bump up the stop a little. 28,269 sounds like a good number. And actually, I am going to close half my position right now, just because we are trading at this potential support here. And like I said, we're trading on a 1 minute. We're not looking for a home run trade here. Basically going to cover my fees, honestly. I would consider, if we get some kind of a bounce here away from support, if we're still kind of looking bearish as we're retesting up higher, I would consider adding back into my position to try and drag this average entry up a little bit. Like, let's say we ended up testing this hourly trend again, but let's say getting a W along it, or some kind of a reversal sign along it, I would consider adding to my position a little bit. Anyone else getting any DEGEN positions today yet? I can't be the only one. Come on. What have I taught you guys? Oh, you joined me. Nice. Well, I'm sorry if this goes horribly against us. If it looks like we kind of get down to this trend down here and finding support along it, probably going to close the rest of my position. Do you look for the same things to add in more if the trend starts running? Yes, absolutely. Let's say, for example, these trend lines, especially if like the trend 5, let's say, the 5 minute ends up getting back above the price and the hourly still above, and then we start getting some W's along the trend confluence, either of them, I will be very likely to add to my position again. That's one of my favorite positions to be in, honestly, and I've done that a lot in the past couple months, is if you end up in a bit of a trending market, like let's say I find a good position, let's say I was in let's say I got into the long down here, which I obviously didn't, but let's say I did take an entry here. Would have been a beautiful play, and let's say this trend ends up catching up. I guess this isn't ideal because they're crossed in the bearish way. We had this bearish cross, the hourly is still above us. But let's just pretend that these are in the correct order. Basically, the hourly one, pretend it's not up here. It's below supporting the price as well. And these are basically climbing together, and we get some sort of a double bottom, or a W shows up as we retest it, anything like that. And then I feel confident that I can also kind of bump up my stop loss because, you know, the trend has caught up to the price a little bit. I love adding into those positions because then you can actually end up in a fairly healthy position size without taking on any risk. The only risk you would take, I guess, would be eating into your profits at that point if it goes against you. And when I add in, I always make sure I'm only adding in enough that I'm not totally screwing over my entry. I still want to be able to lock in more profits if anything goes wrong at that point. I don't want to just add a bunch of risk to a position for no reason. But yes, I love being able to add along the trend confluence, because if you get into a trending market, that can become such an easy strategy. Again, be careful, because in a choppy market condition, it can be a little dangerous. But when you get into one of those runners, it's like, oh, boom, W close to the line, add into my position, take profits on the way up or down, whichever way you're playing it. Get near the trend confluence again with another W, bam, just add to your position again, scale out as you're going in your favor again. And I've done that quite often, where I scale out, scale back in kind of a thing based on the trend. But like I said, that only works in certain market conditions. If it's just chopping back and forth, obviously doesn't work out as good. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, check that you're on the VWMA or the EMA. Yeah, my settings right now, once again, guys, is trend 1. I have VWMA 21, 5 minute, and trend 2 is EMA 1 hour. Understand what would cause the 1 hour trend line to flip red or green. Just basically what side of that trend you would the candles would be trading on, basically. Sometimes it lags a little bit, like sometimes, let's say here for example, it hadn't flipped red yet and we're still below it. That's probably just because the hourly chart hasn't updated or something like that. It's probably just because we're so zoomed in that it hadn't had time to flip yet. Why it would flip because of setting it to VWMA instead of EMA. I'm not sure. I guess just depends how the moving averages are weighted, because I think one of them's kind of based on volume. To be honest, I don't know exactly what each different moving average does, but I just assume it's something to do with how it's calculated on the past 21 candles or whatever. Just a different way it's being calculated, so I'm not sure exactly what's making the ALGO flip its color based on that, but so if you find out, let me know. Or if I don't know if Max is actually here, but or Mike, someone might know. I don't. What are we doing here? Tried to form a bottom here, but it's really having a hard time gaining momentum. Maybe the short will play out. We'll see. I only have half of it running anyways. It'll be a really small loss if I lose. What was that? 269 I said was my stop. On the rest. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not totally sure why the EMA would work better for higher time frames and the VWMA works better for lower time frames. I don't even know if it does for sure. That's just something that I have found just kind of from watching on the shorter time frames and seeing how other people are using it. Really, it's at this point, I've only been experimenting with switching up these settings a bunch for basically a few weeks at this point. So I by no means have a very strong like opinion about which is better. I the only reason I'm doing the 1 hour as the EMA is just because that's what I have been using ever since these indicators got those massive upgrades with the trend confluences. And that's one that I've always had quite a bit of luck with when zooming into like the 5-minute chart, for example. So that's kind of the longer time frame that I want to watch when I'm looking at my smaller scalps and stuff. I still want to keep my eye on that. So that's why I got rid of the 1 minute trend and added the 1 hour instead. And I just kept it EMA because, like I said, that's just kind of what I've used in the past. Almost seemed like the VWMA reacts a little faster when I was looking at it and comparing the two a little bit. I don't know if that's a common thing or if it was just the conditions of the market at the time, but it did seem like it reacted very well or very quickly, and that's kind of why I'm using that one on the shorter time frame. But again, by no means is this a magical number or anything. It's just something I've been playing with for honestly, I've only had my settings like this for a couple days here. Still in testing phase. How do I get the little blue dots to show up? Are you talking these little ones? Actually, little triangles, I believe. Yeah, little triangles. That's the tops and bottoms here in your ALGO 3 settings. They should disappear in a sec. Yeah. Because then there's also the bigger blue dots. You'll notice I don't have those right now. Those would be the Stotch RSI divergences. And I don't think those show up until you're on like a 15-minute chart or longer. Which, I mean, what are we looking at? The macro time frame here? Oh, ALGO 3 stopped showing up. I'm just going to go back before anything happens. Oh boy, what am I doing here? Let's go back to the 1 minute. I feel at home here. I mean, this is taking forever to play out here. And this is a 1 minute chart. I need to upgrade so I can get those 30-second charts or the 5-second and the 1-second charts that I saw someone was posting the one day. 1 minute's too long. Watching on the 1 second, just a constant flow. I want to receive a text message when a buy-sell signal is generated. Any way to do this? Maybe through TradingView. You can... I think there's an issue with TradingView right now that isn't working with the ALGO alerts, but I believe there's going to be a patch around that basically in the next updates of the indicators, which I believe is scheduled for this week sometime. Basically, you can go add alert on MDX ALGO 3, and you should be able to select long, short, take profits, whatever. But yes, I have read in the group that people have had troubles with this, and I think it's a problem involving TradingView. So yeah, the team's working on a workaround for that. So it might not work right now, but that's definitely in the works. I've had it work in the past. I found that it was giving me signals when they weren't there when I would check my phone. So I think it was alerting me before the candle had actually closed, so they were disappearing before, or I'd get the alert basically, and then they'd disappear. But yeah, we're gonna have to see how that is. because I would love to, like I said, I don't always use those signals necessarily, but I love those W reversal warnings when they line up with my own analysis. And I would love to have an alert every time there's a W printed. I would love to take a look at the chart and just see what's going on. So yeah, I would love to have alerts because, I mean, not everybody wants to just stare at the charts. Like, yes, I'll have the 1 minute up when I'm like at the computer doing other shit already. But not everybody wants to just sit there glued to your screen. So it's very nice when the alerts do work like that. I do the same thing with trend lines. If there's an important trend line that I'm watching, I will set my trading view to set an alert every minute until I pay attention to my phone, basically. Like if I was interested in this dashed line here, add an alert once per minute. Every bar that touches it, it's going to go every single minute then at that point. I do that all the time with trend lines. So yeah, to be able to do that with the indicator will be awesome.
It was the way TradingView, they decided to make a change on the way the alerting system works, and it did actually break some stuff with existing indicators. So yeah, it is unfortunately down to TradingView in the way that they updated their alert system.
Oh, okay, that's what happened.
But yeah, the guys are working on it.
Perfect. Yeah, that's going to be sick. I love having alerts because, yeah, not everyone wants to sit there staring at the screen.
But for those new here, the alert system did work before, and it did work really well. It's just unfortunate that a little updates decided to break it.
Yeah. There's a good team on it.
Yeah.
The best. Do I have an opinion on the fact that the money flow is trending green on the 5 minute for the first time in about the past 8 hours? Let's take a look at the old 5 minute. It has flipped green. That's definitely something to consider. I'm personally not willing to place a long on that. Actually, it's nice that we're finding a little bit of support here. I wouldn't go long based just off this, just the fact that we have these bearish signals, trend confluence, the big dot. The RSI has a lot of room to potentially drop down. Not to say we can't bounce from here, but just, yeah, it is just one thing on its own at this point. It's nice to see, don't get me wrong, because yeah, it was red for quite a while here. And that's something I want to point out to you guys too on a longer time frame here. Let's just clean things up a little bit. Looking at longer time frames, let's hop over. Yeah, we got the daily up here. What I am really loving about this oscillator 5 right now, and for the midterm, I think it's very important that we have the money flow in just a green cloud there. That's showing that there is actually buying volume in the market. That's great to see, and the fact that we're getting that as the market flow is potentially supporting us here. We have daily EMA here supporting us. We have the trend confluence of the 3-day lining up here. That's one thing that is really keeping me cautiously bullish at this time. The fact that the daily has a nice green cloud there, and the weekly even more so. The fact that this weekly flipped green, I know I've pointed this out many times, but like I said, a lot of new people here. This money flow has called some very large moves in the past. The fact that we've just got it recently, basically when we started trading sideways at these levels here, flipped green on the weekly. I mean, last time when it flipped red, last time was kind of down in these levels. Yes, we absolutely had a little pullback, but then we got that bigger market move in that direction. I mean, you can see last time it flipped green. These are absolutely huge signals, and money doesn't lie. I mean, the fact that there is money flowing into the market, that's all that matters. At the end of the day, it's supply and demand. If there's money flowing into the market buying this asset, doesn't matter what your opinion is about the state of the economy or anything. If money is in there, that's going to push the price. So I love to see it on the weekly and the daily like that. The weekly looks like it's about to get a bullish cross of the weekly, and I'm guessing that would be the 3-week trend confluence then. Absolutely huge. Obviously, we could have a pretty big pullback to test those levels, even with that green money flow, but I think the overall trend of the market is looking very good. I just figured with the mention of the money flow there, thought I would show that on the larger time frame. I think that's something definitely worth considering on all time frames, honestly. Really wanted to see us at least test down to this trend. Just while we're chilling here, guys, for the next few weeks, I'll probably be doing these at a little bit later of a time. I just took a temporary work contract out of town for a few weeks here, so I'll still have all my gear with me. I'm still gonna do these videos. It's just gonna be a little bit later when I do my live streams. So we're going to see how many people still make it. And of course, they will always be posted to my YouTube channel as well. I know today's a little bit early for me, actually. Usually I'm later than this. But yeah, just something I wanted to mention to you moving forward for the next few weeks. Just a quick temporary work contract, and then we'll see. Might have to take the summer off and just hang out. Do a bunch of kiteboarding, hang out at the cabin, all that kind of stuff.
Stu, hi.
Drake, how's it going?
Well, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you a bit of a, a bit of a funny thing that happened to me. I inadvertently dropped 3 MDX ALGO 3s on the chart with all different settings.
Oh, that's... I guess that's one way to get a whole bunch of trend confluences, hey?
Anyway, if you're born one evening, have a go at it. Very interesting. That's all I wanted to say.
I never even considered that you could do that. But you could totally have like 6 trend confluences up then.
Exactly. So I had 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and a 15-minute.
Very interesting. You know, that's something I never considered. I know I was talking about mentioning that we could use a 3rd or a 4th trend, but yeah, I guess we could just load it up again, hey?
Just loading up the indicators.
That's a great idea. Thanks for that. I'm going to play around with that after this.
Yeah. All right, cool. That's all from me. Thanks, Duke.
Thank you. Guys, just because we are getting to about an hour and a half here, it does take a while for me to upload these. I think that's going to about wrap it up. That way I can get things uploaded and tune into Kieran's live stream. Hopefully you guys are all there as well. He always has some good info in those. Yeah, basically at this point, I don't know how much longer I'm going to hold on to the short because you guys know I am kind of, you know what? I'm just going to see what happens. I'll leave it short for now. If we get some sort of a retest along this trend down here that looks like it might have a little reversal signal, I may try and get long. If we end up getting a bullish cross here, I'll probably start looking for some long scalps, trying to find some sort of entries on some dips at that point. But as it stands right now, yeah, just have a small amount of this position left anyways. Hopefully it was helpful. I mean, I know it's not moving very fast or anything right now, but hopefully this did kind of give you guys an idea of how I look at these indicators, just a few things that I look at when I'm thinking about entering trade setups and that sort of thing. So Yeah. Anyways, friends, obviously none of this has been financial advice. Always do your own research to form your own opinions. But if you appreciated this video, please do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. And if the indicators I use interest you, for those of you who are going to tune in and check this out on my YouTube channel later, there is a referral link for a 15% discount down below. That also gets you into MDX Crypto's private Discord on top of these beautiful indicators. Super helpful community to be a part of. Just a great time. Everyone's super tight here. So with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.